It's that time of year once again, ladies and gentlemen. What is going on, everybody? I am Mac, and I am back on this Tuesday afternoon with another video. And these are my week one picks of the 2023-24 NFL season. Those of you guys coming back to my tournament, welcome back. And for those new members here, just watch this video and you'll get how my tournament works. As always, these are easily one of my favorite videos to make of the year. And preseason's over with. I'm actually recording this a week before the regular season starts, so things might change as far as the spreads go, and as far as player health goes, and who's going to start. So this may not be completely accurate, but I'm sitting down here and recording my week one picks now. So for those that don't understand how the tournament works, here's how it goes. So I'm going to be sticking with the rules that I had from last year, and I think I'm going to make them permanent in my tournament now. So here's how you go. I'm going to look at every single game for this week, and then week two I'm going to do the same thing, week three, and then so on. And basically, there's going to be three picks that are going to stick out the biggest in this video. There's going to be one upset pick, one game to where I think a team is going to cover the spread, and then there's going to be one lock of the week. So just have those three picks in, and you're going to be good. Other than that, just go through every game and just pick who you think is going to win. And point spread picks are the only picks that you need a score for. Back then I used to have, you give a score prediction for every point or for every game. You don't do that anymore. Point spreads are the only ones that you need a score prediction for. And for every game that you get right, you get a win plus 2 points. And then for every game that you get wrong, you get a loss and you don't get any points. So that way I'm just eliminating negative points, because I've had some pretty weird point totals, as the years have gone by. And then for your spread picks, if you guess the spread correctly, then you get the amount of points that's the difference in your score. So like say for this week, say for like Thursday night, you say you're taking Kansas City to win, and you have them covering, and the Chiefs win, and you say Kansas City wins like, 30-23 or something. So if the Chiefs win, then you would win then you would get a 7-point win. But if Kansas City covers the spread, and you get the score right, then your point addition is doubled. But you can also pick your opponent to cover the spread as well. So like you can pick Kansas City to win, but you can pick Detroit to cover. So as long as the Chiefs win by less than what they're favored to win by, and Detroit covers, then you still get the points in your spread. So I hope that clears things up. And I know a lot of people have questions. Please feel free to message me on Instagram or whatever if you have any more questions about my tournament. But yeah, let's get this started, man. These are my week one picks, 2023-24 NFL season. Let's get on to it. And kicking things off, we have the Thursday night football game, which should be a really good game in my opinion. We got the Detroit Lions and the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium on Thursday night. As the Lions, they got off to a pretty slow start to last year, but then they really picked things up in the second half, going 9-8 on the year last year. eliminating the Green Bay Packers from playoff contention in Week 18 at Lambeau and putting an end to Aaron Rodgers' Packer career. While the Chiefs, as I just said, they're the defending champions. They won a pretty hard-fought game over Jacksonville in the divisional, took out the Bengals in the AFC Championship, and then rallied to come back and beat the Philadelphia Eagles in Super Bowl 57. Patrick Mahomes winning Super Bowl MVP again. So there's a lot to say about these two. Detroit can definitely put up points. I keep saying it with them. They're my surprise team of the year. I really do think that they can win the NFC North this year. They really don't have much competition in that division. And really the only two teams to be afraid of in the entire NFC, in my opinion, are Philly and San Francisco. And that's really it. I think Detroit really has made some improvements. And even though they had a questionable draft, I really think that Dan Campbell has this team fighting and they're ready to make the playoffs this year. So Detroit's going to be a pretty fun team to watch. That said, I think their defense still needs to improve a little bit. But other than that, the Lions look like a pretty solid team this year. Then you got Kansas City. All you need to know about them is Patrick Mahomes. They did lose a couple of targets in the offseason, but hey, everyone said that the Chiefs would be Mahomes would take a step back without Tyreek Hill, but all he did was turn in an MVP season. So it just goes to show you, no matter who Mahomes has as targets, he can be successful. They're really high on Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore, and of course they still got Travis Kelce. Losing Juju is no big problem for him. Isaiah Pacheco is still really good for him. And the Chiefs, their defense is a little questionable, but they do have some playmakers in their defensive back that can cause turnovers and they can get interceptions in. So, yeah, the Chiefs, they got to be careful in this one because if they're not, Detroit is just going to pass all over them. And as for the Lions, this is going to be by far, it's kind of good for the Lions because this is their hardest game on the schedule, in my opinion. And I think it's good for them that they're going to get it out of the way, in week 1. So, yeah, honestly, I really want to pick the Lions for this game, but Mahomes is just next to unbeatable at home. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start off my season making this my point spread. I'm going to take Kansas City with the victory, but I'm going to say Detroit covers. So I think I think Vegas has it really disrespectful to the Lions in this one because as I'm recording this, they have Kansas City by 6.5. And I think that's too much. Honestly, I don't think they're really giving the Lions a fair chance. So I'm going to say Kansas City wins, but I'm going to say Detroit covers. So give me the Kansas City Chiefs to win week 1 in a very hard-fought, offense-driven game. I'm going to say 37-34, Kansas City over Detroit. All right, now we got our Sunday slate of games, and the early Sunday games kicking things off. We got a tough one here as the Carolina Panthers head on to Atlanta to play the Falcons. Everyone in the NFC South except for maybe the Saints sucks, so really it's anybody's bet for this one. The Panthers, they could have won the NFC South last year. Let's face it, anyone in that division could have won the South, but if it was going to be anyone else other than Tampa, I think it probably would have been the Panthers. They got a tough defense. Losing DJ Moore could maybe set them back a little bit, but other than that, they really, improved in the offseason. I think their offense got a little bit better. They got, a couple of good running backs in the backfield to, almost make up for losing CMC. And then I don't know who they're going to be starting a quarterback in this game. but I would imagine Bryce Young is probably going to get his first career start. So we'll just see where it goes right there. The biggest news with the Panthers, that trade with the Bears, they traded DJ Moore to get the first overall pick. So I would imagine that Bryce Young is probably going to get his first career NFL start. And I really think that it could be possible here because Atlanta, they're a team that just, I don't know what to make of the Falcons. They might be starting Desmond Ridder in this game. They got a couple of good playmakers, but their defense is kind of sus in my opinion. Atlanta just doesn't really have much going for them. So I think it's kind of, and if anything, the Panthers, they got a good coach that can work really well with quarterbacks in Frank Reich, which I cannot stress enough. Wanted that guy to be the Steelers OC. I mean, I've hounded that issue time and time again, going back to the middle of last year. That's how long I've been preaching it. So, honestly, it could be anybody's game, but I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers here. Usually in situations like this, I go with the home team because I don't know who to pick, but I think the Panthers are actually a little bit more defined than Atlanta is, just because I like Carolina's offense a little bit more, and I think that they're a tough defensive team, and Desmond Ritter's going to be, kind of struggling this one. Not that the Falcons can't win, because I think anyone in this division can beat anyone in the division, so I'm just going to go with the Panthers here because I think they're a little bit more defined than Atlanta is, so give me the Panthers here. Next up, we got an AFC North showdown. Cincinnati Bengals at the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland in the Battle of Ohio, Part 1 for this season. The Bengals, they lost in the AFC Championship last season. That, believe it or not, was the first time the Bengals have ever lost in the AFC Championship. And the Cleveland Browns are coming off another disappointing year. The Browns just being the Browns. But the biggest headline in this one, by far, is Joe Burrow going to start week 1? Because if you know, Joe Burrow hurt his calf in training camp, early in training camp, about a month ago or so. And everyone's been wondering, what are the Bengals going to do for week 1? Is Joe Burrow going to be healthy? Bengals did lose a lot in the offseason as well. They don't have Samaje Perine anymore, and Joe Mixon has been one of the biggest talks of all the offseason with the controversy that he's been going through. The Bengals did lose their two best safeties as well. They lost Jesse Bates, and they lost Jesse Bates, and they lost Von Bell. I think Jesse Bates, now that I think about it, did go to Atlanta, so that might be something the Falcons can use for that matchup with the Panthers, but I digress. The Bengals, they're still a solid team as long as, Burrow and Chase and Higgins and Boyd are still there. But, like I said, is Joe Burrow 100% good to go? Another thing is the Bengals just seem to struggle mightily against the Browns in recent years, especially in Cleveland. They have not beaten the Browns in Cleveland since the Browns went 0-16 back in 2017. It's crazy to say the Bengals have not won in Cleveland in about 6 years. That's crazy to think about, considering that, it was kind of a mix of both things. The Bengals have been kind of bad in recent years, while the Browns have just been kind of mediocre to middling in recent years as well. The Bengals didn't start getting good until 2021, so I guess that makes sense. But with the Browns, they made some moves in this offseason as well, but, how many times do we have to sit back and hear the Browns just get hyped up by the media for them to just, fall flat on their faces? They just cut their kicker, for crying out loud. When even the Browns kicker can't even make things right with Cade York with them, that's how you know the Browns are just being so overhyped, man. Plus, last year when they beat the Panthers, that was the first time the Browns have won a Week 1 game since 2004. So I still don't trust the Browns in Week 1, but I also don't trust the Bengals going to Cleveland to beat the Browns when they've struggled against them there. So to play it safe, I'm going to assume that Joe Burrow is going to be healthy enough to play for this one, and that, Burrow actually has had some stints of overcoming obstacles. So even though he might not be 100% good to go, I'm going to actually go with the Bengals here to get their first win in Cleveland in about 6 years. So I'm going to go Bengals on this one, despite all the flaws they have, despite the questionable offseason they had, and despite the Browns just seeming to own them in Cleveland. I'm going to go Bengals here to get the job done over Cleveland. Next, we got an AFC South showdown as the Jags go to Indianapolis to play the Colts. This is one of the easier ones for me to pick. Jacksonville got good in the offseason. They had a really good season last year, going 9-8, winning the AFC South as they start off slow, but they caught fire in the second half. Came back from a 27-0 deficit to beat the Chargers at home in the playoffs. And then they honestly could have beaten Kansas City, but, the Chiefs, they're just impossible to beat at home in the playoffs with Mahomes. But Doug Peterson has this team going in the right direction. Trevor Lawrence has blossomed into what we thought he's going to be. I like the Jags this year. They're going to be a fun team to watch this year. The Colts, they're going to be really boom or bust this year. If all goes well and Anthony Richardson advertises as, performs as advertised, and the Colts have a running back by committee type of offense, and they have a good run and pound game because Richardson can use his legs. He's a good mobile quarterback as well, and he can gun it as well. So it's good that the Colts are finally starting to get some youth at QB, and they're finally starting to find an identity for themselves offensively. But still, it's like, Anthony Richardson's a rookie. I don't know how much of an impact it's going to really play on the Colts in the grand scheme of things, but they do have a good head coach who worked well with Jalen Hurts in Philly. So there's a lot of expectations for the Colts this year. But it's just the Jags, they seem to finally figure it out. Their defense, I think, is going to be too tough for Anthony Richardson in this one. I like Jacksonville starting 1-0 here. I think the Jags get the job done, and they continue to pick up where they left off from last year, while the Colts, starting 0-1 is not the end of the world for them. But, it's like, hey, you're starting off the season against a tough opponent. You can learn from it right there. I'm going to go Jacksonville to get the job done over the Colts in Week 1. Next up, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Minnesota Vikings. This one is up in Minneapolis. The Bucs, man, oh man, did they have an offseason. Not only did they lose Tom Brady to retirement, fingers crossed still, because I still don't trust Brady's retirement. Let me tell you something about Brady, okay? I am not 100% convinced that Brady has really retired from the league until Week 1 rolls around and I see that he's not on the sidelines, let alone on the field, playing for an NFL team. He pulled this shit with us last year when he said he was going to retire, and then he came back. So, yeah, that's how much I don't trust Brady's retirement. I am not saying that he's officially retired until Week 1 comes around and I don't see him playing for an NFL team. But anyway, the Bucs did more than just lose Brady. They lost pretty much their entire team. They gutted that entire core after that playoff loss, and the Bucs are in for a rebuild. This is a candidate for the Caleb Williams Bowl here because I really don't know if Baker Mayfield's going to cut it this year. They're kind of in the same situation with Green Bay, in my opinion. If Tampa Bay is way under 500 at their bye, which I think they will be, they should just punt the season, tank for Caleb Williams. That's my opinion, though. All they have is their defense, which their defense is still strong, but like I keep pounding the issue, you have to have a quarterback to win in today's league, and Baker Mayfield's serviceable. I think he's a good backup, but he's just not starter quality. This is his third team that he's been on, at least. Or no, his fourth team. His third team in like less than a year, honestly. I mean, he was with Carolina last year, then he went to the Rams, and now he's with Tampa Bay. This is his third team that he's been on in about a year. Fourth team overall. So this is his fourth chance now to finally find a home. Minnesota. The Vikings are a good team, but do I think that they're a 13-win good enough team? No, I think this is a team that's going to win about 10 games at most this year. I think the Vikings really overachieved last year, and they won a lot of games that they probably should have lost last year. That being said, I don't think Minnesota's a bad team. I just think that they're a little bit of an overachiever. They just lost Dalvin Cook, but they still got Justin Jefferson. They still got a good receiving core. They still got a good defense that can get physical. But I keep saying it time and time again, I'm not a Kirk Cousins guy. I never was. When it comes to playing elite teams, when it comes to playing good teams, Kirk Cousins just doesn't strike me as a clutch guy. He relies heavily on the weaponry that he has, and it's shown countless times throughout his career. So really, until Kirk Cousins shows me that he's capable of going the distance and actually being clutch enough to lead his team to a deep run, I just don't think the Vikings are going to be, if they make the playoffs, I just don't think they're going to go very far. But I do have them winning this game against Tampa Bay because the Bucs they're in for a rough year. Minnesota's still good enough to win the North, in my opinion, even though I don't think they'll win it. But I think bare minimum this is a playoff team right here. So I'm going to go Minnesota to get the job done over the Bucs. Tricky one right here as we got the Tennessee Titans going down to New Orleans to play the Saints. As the Titans, they were 7-3 halfway through last year, leading the AFC South, and everyone's like, the Titans are going to win this division for the third consecutive season at least. But yeah, they were 7-3, and then they lost out. They finished 7-10 last year. They ended last year on a 7-game losing streak, including getting swept by the Jags and also losing Week 18 to them to lose out on winning the AFC South. That's how far Tennessee fell down last year, and it made them question who their quarterback's going to be. Should it be Ryan Tannehill? Should it be Will Levis? And should it even be Malik Willis? So the Titans have some quarterback questions going on for him right now. Derrick Henry is still one of the premier running backs in the league. In fact, I think he might be the premier running back in the league. But, Derrick Henry might not have many elite years left in him because running backs' window of opportunity, they don't increase with age. Running backs don't get better with age. So enjoy Derrick Henry while you can because window of opportunity for running backs rapidly diminishing. Okay? And Derrick Henry, he's almost 30 years old. So he might have he might have a couple of elite years at most left in him. And once Derrick Henry once his productivity really starts to take a dip, the Titans are going to be in deep trouble. Tennessee is in a weird situation. It's like they're too good to tank, but they're not good enough to compete for a deep playoff run. So really, it makes no sense for the Titans to tank because they have their quarterback, at least in their eyes, they have their quarterbacks for them. But it's also like they're also way too good to be losing 7 straight games. Their pass defense is still, their rush defense is still pretty solid. Their defense in general can still be productive, which is what I think the meat of Tennessee is going to be this year. But with offense, they did get D-Hop in the offseason, which should bolster up the receiving game a little bit. But I don't know. Tennessee's a weird team this year. I just don't know what to make of them. I think they're going to be another second-place team this year. and I think they missed the playoffs again. Tennessee's just a strange team. I don't know what to make of them. And then you got the New Orleans Saints. This is a team that I think has made the most improvement in the NFC South this year. You know, that you get Derek Carr in the offseason, which I think is kind of ironic because the Saints played the Raiders last year, and the Saints actually shut out the Raiders with Derek Carr, and now Derek Carr is their quarterback. So that's kind of ironic right there, wouldn't you say? But, like, Derek Carr, while I don't think he's elite, I do think that he's an upgrade over. I mean, let's face it, he's already an upgrade over Andy Dalton. But Chris Olave is a really good young receiver, and I think the Saints are going to be, you know, exciting to watch as long as Chris Olave is there. Now, you want to talk about overrated players? It's Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas gets so much love for no reason whatsoever. I mean, he runs the same routes every single time that he plays. Alvin Kamara is going to miss the first couple weeks of the season because of his hearing. And then, of course, you got the Saints defense. This could low-key be a good defensive matchup here. You got two good defenses going at it here. So I think it's going to come down to who blinks on defense here. So Derek Carr, this is going to be a good test for him because he didn't really have solid defenses with the Raiders. Just a good pass rush, but not really a solid defense. Now he goes into a situation where he's going to have a good defense to fall back on. So I really don't know who to go with here. I think it can go either way, but I'm going to play it safe and go home team here. So, yeah, you know, when in doubt, go home team. I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints to get the job done over the Titans here. Extend the Titans' losing streak to 8, and I think the Saints get off on the right foot to go to 1-0. So give me the Saints just because they're the home team. Okay, we got my matchup here. The San Francisco 49ers going into Heinz Field. I am still calling that stadium Heinz Field. I don't give a crap what you say about it. 49ers at the Steelers. So the 49ers are coming off another NFC Championship loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. A game in which you can't really blame it all that much on, you know, the team itself because they were having a quarterback carousel right there because Brock Purdy was starting in that game, but then he got hurt, so they had to go with, Josh Johnson in that game. And the 49ers, not saying that if Brock Purdy was in the game playing for the full time, that the 49ers would have won because, let's face it, Philly is just way too powerful. You know, they're the best team in the league, in my opinion. So there's the deal with that. And then, of course, you got the biggest headline that's been going on for the past couple of days now. The 49ers, it looks like Brock Purdy is going to be their starter for the whole season. It looks like they're very confident with him. Why? Because they traded Trey Lance to the Dallas Cowboys. So you can throw that out the window. I mean, I'm not saying Brock Purdy is bad, because I do think that he can succeed under Kyle Shanahan, because Kyle Shanahan is a great coach that works well with quarterbacks. But I'm just saying, wow. 49ers must be really confident that Brock Purdy is their guy moving forward. You know? So, you look at that NFC Championship game here, which was also in Pennsylvania, by the way. But you take a look at it. CMC had 15 carries for 84 yards in that game. His longest run was for 23. And he had San Francisco's only touchdown of the game. So, you look at that, and it's like, wow, you know, the 49ers, they're just going to run the ball right down our throats. And while CMC is a very good running back, Steelers don't stand a chance, right? Well, I mean, here's the thing. CMC kind of had to be the bulk of the offense because, like I said, Brock Purdy got injured in the game. Josh Johnson has to come in, who, yes, is still playing in the league. And unless Shanahan wanted to have Johnson, you know, take shots down the field, they were going to have a running back, but they were going to have a ground and pound type of game all game, which fell right into the Eagles' laps right there because their rush defense, while it did look sketchy at times, it really got better as the weeks went by. You know, and the Steelers this offseason, we did everything on that defense to fix up our run game. Our run defense has always been kind of sus, but now Larry Ogunjobi's coming back. You draft Keanu Benton, who's going to be a monster in that middle, and Nick Herbig, who can also pass rush and get physical across the middle altogether. And now you have Quan Alexander, who can play both man and zone type of defense. The point is, and now, you know, Cam Hayward's going to be back for at least one more season. The point is, we fixed up our rush defense, man. And CMC, not hoping that he gets injured, okay? I like CMC, actually. I always did. But CMC has always been a very injury-prone type of player. Okay? So, I think that's honestly a mismatch right there. 49ers run game against our rush defense. Okay? I'm going to get more in this in my preview. And for the sake of this video, I just want to keep it at a minimum. But I'm going to get more of this in my preview. Anyway, that's a mismatch in my opinion. 49ers run game against our rush defense. How's Brock Purdy going to do? Is he 100% good to go? Because remember, he got injured in that NFC Championship game last year. So is Brock Purdy good to go? Meanwhile, our defense, fresh off the press, healthy. TJ Watt is back. That's the biggest headline. You know, you sign Alex, you extend Alex Highsmith. Minkah Fitzpatrick's still there. You draft Peasy Jr. Patrick Peterson you get in the offseason as well. So how confident is Brock Purdy going to be against this defense that should be top 5 this year? It absolutely should be top 5 this year. Purdy's going to have to take some shots down the field. And knowing the weaponry that he has, because he does have good weapons. Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk. He does have good weapons to throw to, but we all know that Minkah makes plays. Peasy Jr. has been covering really good in training camp all season, and he's had some standouts. You know, we have some competition now with, you know, Elijah Moore and Trey Norwood. So this defensive backs have good expectations for us this year. And then, of course, like I've already mentioned the run defense. However, you also got to take a look at our offense against San Francisco's defense. This is going to be a very good defensive matchup right here. 49ers defense ranks among one of the best in the league. They're a physical defense too, and it all starts with the cream of the crop and Nick Bosa defending defensive player of the year. And it just occurred to me, we're seeing Nick Bosa versus TJ Watt. The 2 previous defensive player of the years are going at it in this one. So if you're a defensive guy like I am, this is your kind of game. So Kenny Pickett, he's been dropping dimes in the bucket all preseason and all offseason. This is his biggest test right here. In my opinion, this is the hardest game on our schedule, and it's good that we get it over with right away. You know, 49ers, they're just a great defensive team. Big game for George Pickens right here. Big game for Deontay Johnson. And I think in order to pull off the upset here, we got to beat the 49ers at their own game as far as the offense goes. Running back by committee type of game. And we've been doing that. Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris and Anthony McFarland, they've all been getting the split carries in preseason and in the offseason, and they've been productive with it. We're getting them short, chunky yards. I want to see us have, you know, long, extended drives in this game, and I want us to tire out that defense right there, and then Kenny Pickett just do what he does in preseason and in training camp. Dimes in the bucket, man. And I think that's how we can upset the 49ers. So this one took me a long time to think about. This is our first home opener that we've had in week 1 since 2014 when we opened up against the Cleveland Browns. So we're at home playing in front of a packed house. The 49ers, they have not won in Pittsburgh in a long time. And even though the 49ers are the better team coming into this one, in my opinion, guess what, guys? This is my upset of the week. Call me a homer, call me crazy, I don't care. I just got this gut feeling that we're going to pull off the upset in week 1. Take a look at who we've beaten in week 1 the past couple of seasons too, by the way. 2021, upset the Bills in Buffalo. Last year, upset the Bengals in Cincinnati. Now we got the 49ers coming to our place in week 1. And we are 7-2 since the second half of last season, and we just got better. Now, here's the thing. San Francisco's pass rush is going to be brutal in this game, so I would honestly not start Broderick Jones at left tackle in this one. I would still go with Dan Moore for this one. For the first couple weeks, I'd still go Dan Moore because you're putting Broderick Jones in a situation where he's going up against a gauntlet of pass rushers, and I just don't think he's ready for that yet. But with our offensive line getting better in the offseason and the 49ers having to go up against Isaac Seumalo once again, I think the O-line can kind of hold their own a little bit here, which is why you got to get a run game going. But still, it's going to be a very tall order for this offensive line to go up against their pass rush. But hey, you can say the same thing about San Francisco's O-line going up against our pass rush, you know? So it's like, who blinks first on defense for this one? I think it's going to be San Francisco because I think they're going to be caught off guard with the offense that we've been having. So yeah, man, this is my upset of the week. 49ers are favored by 2.5 as I'm recording this video. Give me the Pittsburgh Steelers to upset the 49ers in week 1. More in my preview coming up. Okay, next up, we got probably the most boring matchup of the week, and as you can tell, it's my toilet bowl of the week. Arizona Cardinals at the Washington Commanders at FedEx Field. Well, Washington took a big dub this offseason as Dan Snyder doesn't own the franchise anymore. And Washington, they honestly could be in the playoff picture for a little bit because they do have a couple of sneaky playmakers on that offense right there, and they still have a strong defense. But I think that they also had some key losses in the offseason as well, and I don't know who their starter's going to be. Probably Sam Howell, I really don't know, but then you got to take a look at Arizona. Oh, man, Josh Dobbs is probably going to be Arizona's starter this season. That's all you need to know because Kyler Murray is still injured. And the Cardinals, like I said, I think they are the worst team in the league. They're going to be tanking for Caleb Williams all season. So I'm going to go Washington here just because, they got more at their disposal than the Cardinals do, and the Cardinals are just punting this season. I'm going to go Washington to get the job done over the Cardinals here. Then to wrap up the early Sunday afternoon games, we got the Houston Texans and the Baltimore Ravens. This one is in Baltimore. Again, pretty much an easy one here. Ravens are favored by 10. I'm going to go with the Ravens to win this one. Lamar Jackson's extended. You get a good running game in the backfield. You booster up the defense a little bit. Baltimore's receiving corps still a little questionable, even with getting Odell Beckham there, because I really don't think Odell Beckham's an elite receiver. But, hey, these are the best targets that Lamar's had in his entire career, so there's no excuse for him to take a step back. And Houston, C.J. Stroud might be starting in this game. I don't know. So you're throwing a rookie pretty much into the fire against a strong defense. That is a disaster waiting to happen. I'm going to go with the Ravens to win this one to go to 1-0. All right, late Sunday games. First at bat, we got I guess you can call it the best rivalry in the NFL. Well, it's the oldest rivalry in the NFL at least, but I don't think it's the best. Anyway, Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears. This one is in Chicago. as the Packers, they are down Aaron Rodgers, and they are starting Jordan Love for pretty much the whole season. So this is going to be a very interesting year for Green Bay. For the first time since, like, God knows when, I would say probably since, like, pretty much ever since I've been watching the NFL for 21 years now. Ever since I've been watching the NFL, the Green Bay Packers have a quarterback problem. And that's crazy to think about because they've had Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers all this time. Now it's Jordan Love. You know, Green Bay, like I said earlier with Tampa Bay, if the Packers are way under 500 at the bye week, then I think they should tank for Caleb Williams. Because it makes sense. You don't know what you fully have in Jordan Love. But hey, you know, for all we could know, Jordan Love could ball out and Green Bay could be good. But really, you don't have Devontae Adams anymore. Your best receiver is probably that Christian Gonzalez kid, whatever his name is. And he's been improving. And all you really have in the backfield, all you really have is your backfield with A.J. Dillon. You know? So I really don't know. Green Bay does have a strong defense, but they just seem... This is the weakest that I've seen Green Bay probably since 2005. The difference is the Packers still had Brett Favre in 2005 and a couple of good targets. Now they have like nobody except for a strong run game and a strong defense. So Green Bay, you know, like I said, if they're way under 500 at their bye, they should just tank the season. Chicago Bears, Justin Fields, all the progress in the world. They have a lot of resources. They get DJ Moore in that trade with the Panthers. That being said, Chicago's defense still needs to improve. That defense is still busted, but now the Bears can score points, and we've shown it. They've shown it with Justin Fields and the run game they have and the weaponry that they have. And now I think this is the most confident that Bears fans should feel about playing Green Bay in a long time because Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers owned the Bears for over 30 years. Neither of them are there now. And the Bears, they gave Green Bay some trouble last year. I think the Bears are ready to overtake the Packers this year and finally beat them. I'm going with the Chicago Bears to get their first win against the Packers since at least like 2018. It's been a long time since the Bears have beaten Green Bay. So I'm going to go with the Bears to get the job done over Green Bay. Give me Chicago, man. Then we got an AFC West showdown between the Las Vegas Raiders and the Denver Broncos. This one is in Mile High. Tricky one right here because I honestly think the Raiders have, aside from Tampa Bay, I think the Raiders are the least improved team in the league. I mean, sure, you got Josh Jacobs, but is Jimmy Garoppolo really an upgrade at quarterback? I mean, Jimmy G does fit McDaniel's system better, but I really, you know, it's like with Kirk Cousins. Jimmy G just never strikes me as an elite quarterback. I don't think he'll ever be elite, in my opinion. Max Crosby's still a great pass rusher for him. And now you get Henry Ruggs, who's going to be in jail for 3 years. I think I think Henry Ruggs should be in prison for the rest of his freaking life because of what he did to, just because, you know, he was drunk behind the wheel, number one, and he killed a person on top of that. So I think that guy should be in prison for the rest of his fucking life, if you want me to be honest with you. But, yeah, the Raiders, I really don't think they're in good enough shape to really compete in the AFC West. You know, because on top of having to go up against the Chiefs, they also got to worry about the Chargers. So the Raiders, if they really... And now they even have to worry about Denver, too, in my opinion. You know? Because I really don't know if Vegas is fully better than Denver. Speaking of the Broncos, we all know the hype they had last year with that Russell Wilson trade, but it has backfired immensely with them. At least now they got Sean Payton as their head coach, and they still got that strong defense there. So if the Broncos are to make any improvement this year, it has to be this year with a new head coach. Samaje Perine's a good running back in the backfield for him, but honestly, I just really don't think Denver's all that good. You know, they're just another mediocre team, and Russell Wilson, he just has to have a way better year than he did last year, but it's no easy task going against that stacked AFC. Plus, the Raiders have just really owned the Broncos over the years, and until that trend breaks, I'm going to go Vegas here to get the job done over Denver. You know, if the Raiders were playing anyone else in week 1, I'd probably go with their opposition, but they're playing Denver. They have the Broncos number lately. I'm going to go with the Raiders to get the job done over Denver to start the season off 1-0. And hey, you know, maybe I could be totally wrong about the Raiders, but I still don't think they're a good team. I just think that they're playing a team that they just have good success against. Next at bat, we got the Philadelphia Eagles, the defending NFC champions, at the New England Patriots in Foxborough, a rematch of Super Bowl 39 and Super Bowl 52. So, the Eagles, what's there to say about them? In my opinion, they're the best team in the league. That defense is just simply unfair. Their pass defense is just extraordinary. One of the best pass defenses I've seen in a long time. And already right off the bat, that's a huge mismatch. Because the Patriots have to rely on Mac Jones this year to carry the load. And Mac Jones is just not cutting it for him. New England, they could probably be in a tank for Caleb Williams' situation as well, too. Like I said with Green Bay and Tampa Bay. They're way under 500 at the bye, which I don't think they'll be way under 500 at the bye. I think they'll probably be 500-ish at the bye. But anyway, if the Patriots are 1-8 or 2-7 at their bye, whenever their bye is, they should honestly just tank for Caleb Williams. They're really now in the after effects of losing the GOAT. They've been like that for years now, for a couple of years now, but hey, you know, no one feels bad for New England. I'm supposed to feel bad about the Patriots. Hey, Bobby, my man Bobby, if you're watching this video, man, I got some news for you. I respect you. You're a good buddy of mine, man, but, I mean, come on. You expect me to feel bad for the Patriots, dude? You've been kicking my team's ass for over 20 years, and you ruined at least 2 Super Bowl runs by us, okay? And now you guys suck. And you expect me to feel bad for the Patriots? I feel bad for you because you have to watch this crap. But the rest of you Patriot fans, to hell with you. You're going through pretty much what Browns fans have gone through ever since they came back in the league. And I'm supposed to feel bad for you. Okay, whatever. But anyway, it's a big mismatch right there. Going up Mac Jones against Philly's pass defense. They did get Ezekiel Elliott, okay? But that's not going to improve them significantly. That just proves the point even more about the situation that the Patriots are in. If you can't pass the ball, you are not going to be in good position at all. And you might say, well, the Steelers have that similar problem with Kenny Pickett. Yeah, but here's the thing. The Steelers' offense is more defined than New England's offense is. Because we know that Kenny Pickett can drop dimes. We know Kenny Pickett's been improving. Mac Jones has not been improving. You know? So pretty much, if the Patriots are to have any success at all this year, these 3 things need to happen. Number 1, Ezekiel Elliott and Stevenson need to have all-pro seasons. Number 2, Patriots defense needs to be on some 85 Bears type of shit. And finally, number 3, Mac Jones has to do his best Tom Brady impression. If all 3 of those things happen, which realistically, I only see maybe one of those things happening, but all 3 of those things need to happen for the Patriots to be even remotely close to how they were in the Brady-Belichick era. With Philly, Jalen Hurts is extended. They can pound the ball down that defense. They can pass the ball as well. Jalen Hurts' arm strength has been improving. And Now you just get DeAndre Swift on the day of the draft to make an already stacked run game even more stacked. And of course, you still got A.J. Brown to throw to. This was honestly so close to being my lock of the week, but I still think it's going to be a bloodbath. Philly wins this game easily. I just don't think the Patriots stand a lick of a chance in this one. They might make it close for a quarter or two just because of Philly's run defense. I still don't fully trust it. But, I mean, come on. The Eagles are just going to have their way all day with New England. I'm going to go Philly here. Like I said, it was really close to being my lock of the week. I'll get to that one in a couple. Next up, another tricky one. We got the Miami Dolphins at the Los Angeles Chargers. This one is in LA. As the Dolphins coming off a playoff loss to the Bills, which they honestly were really close to winning with their backup quarterback. But now you get Tua Tagovailoa back. He's fully, well, I don't know if he's fully healthy, but he's the most important player on the Dolphins, in my opinion, because we know the Dolphins, when Tua was healthy, they were firing on all cylinders. They were playing like a legit Super Bowl contender. And then when Tua went down, Miami started to dip a little bit. Tua is the most important player on that Dolphins team. And when he's fully healthy, I have no doubt in my mind the Dolphins are a legit playoff team. Then you got the Chargers. The Chargers, I do not trust them at all. You can't even hold a 27-0 lead with 4 turnovers. That's all you need to know about the Chargers. Justin Herbert got a bag thrown at him, but and look, I'm not saying that playoff loss is Justin Herbert's fault. It's 100% on bad coaching in the defense. But I mean, come on, man. When you're up 27-0 and your defense has spotted you 4 turnovers, you don't get cute with your offense. Because did you not see what the Vikings and the Colts game from last year did? It doesn't matter what kind of a lead you have. You have to put your foot on the throat for the entire game. And Justin Herbert just didn't do it. Plain and simple. Justin Herbert, he's another guy that just doesn't strike me as clutch in my opinion. I think he benefited off of the Jags just playing like crap for the first half. And you also got to factor in he has really good weaponry around him as well. But I guess the Chargers are sold on him because you got a bag thrown at him. I just never got the hype with Justin Herbert. That's just my opinion. So, honestly, this was a tricky one because typically teams from the East flying out West, that's a big disadvantage for them. But honestly, I like the Dolphins in this one. LA is favored in this one, but I like the Dolphins for some reason. I think that the Penguin and the Cheetah are just going to be too much for LA's defense to handle. Plus, the Chargers really aren't a physical team all that much. And like I said with Tua, he's the most important player on that team. So, like, if anyone's to rough up Tua, he would have a hard time going up against a team like us or the Ravens or the Broncos, the Eagles, which the Dolphins do play the Eagles this year, by the way. But, like, LA's just not a really physical team. And I think Tua doesn't really have to worry about getting hurt in this one. And if he does, then Miami's just screwed. But I'm going to go Dolphins on this one, actually. Typically, I'd go with the home team. But for some reason, I just like the Dolphins in this game. Alrighty, next up, we got the Los Angeles Rams at the Seattle Seahawks at Lumen Field. And I'm just going to say it right here, right now. I am locking up the Seahawks in this one. Yeah, this is my lock of the week right here. The Rams, oh man, they are still in that Super Bowl hangover. Year 2 of it. They have like no team now. Aside from Aaron Donald, aside from Cooper Kupp, maybe Cam Akers, who do the Rams have? They have an old, in his twilight, hurt Matthew Stafford, who is not a clutch quarterback, also in my opinion. Okay? He's a good quarterback, but he's just not clutch, okay? He did he did almost nothing to help the Rams in that Super Bowl win. That was all Cooper Kupp right there, okay? Which honestly, I'm saying at this point, Detroit won that trade over the Rams. Stafford got the Super Bowl, sure, but I mean, come on. It was all defense, and it was all Cooper Kupp that won the Super Bowl for the Rams, not Stafford. Then you got the Seahawks. They got those 3 draft picks from the Broncos, and boy, did they use them to their advantage. They got more weapons for Geno Smith, the comeback player of the year, by the way. They got a stout backfield. Defense looks improved. The Seahawks, they are really going to give San Francisco a run for their money in the NFC West this year, and I really think the Seahawks are going to be in the playoffs. They could honestly snag the NFC West from San Francisco, but until that is to be determined, I just think the 49ers are just the better team, while Seattle is really close to being that best team in the NFC West. I'm going to go Seahawks. Absolute blowout right here. In recent years, the Rams have owned the Seahawks. Now it's the other way around. Seattle all the way here. Then we got Sunday Night Football. Check your local listings. As we got the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Football Giants. And as you can see by the slide right here, this is something else that I'm going to do for this year at least. This is my rivalry of the week right here. It just did beat out another game that I'm going to be getting into in a few minutes, because unlike that matchup, this matchup has shown that it's rivalry of the week worthy capable, because these are 2 playoff teams from last year that both won a playoff game last year. Cowboys beat the Bucs, which very good. You beat the weakest division winner of all time. And then they lost in the divisional to San Francisco. Then you got the New York Giants, the biggest surprise last year, 9-7-1. They make the playoffs. They beat the Vikings in the playoffs, and then they just run into the Philly buzzsaw in the next round. But the Giants have a lot to look forward to. Brian Daboll is a phenomenal coach, coach of the year. Daniel Jones had the best season of his career. Saquon Barkley got a bag thrown at him. Daniel Jones got a bag thrown at him. And the Giants, they improved the offense. Defense is still tough. So yeah, the Giants, for the first time in about 6 years or so, have a lot of expectations for this year. And I like the direction that they're headed. You know, it's just typical old school NFC East rivals, man. And that's why this is my rivalry of the week, and it's deserved to be on Sunday night. Typically, I always complain about the Cowboys getting all the primetime spots, but for this matchup, I like it. You got a team that's made the playoffs in recent years versus an up-and-coming team, and these two just so happen to be longtime rivals. Now, here's the thing with the Cowboys. Do I think they're good enough to get back to the playoffs? Yes, I do. But I think they made a big mistake with getting rid of Kellen Moore. Because when Kellen Moore was there, the Cowboys had the second-ranked offense in the league. Now they're going to have to go with Mike McCarthy pretty much calling all the shots on play calling. And they're pretty much going to have to win it under Dak. And now they don't have Ezekiel Elliott, which might be good for them, because I do think at this point Tony Pollard is the better option. But is Tony Pollard 100% good to go? Because he got banged up a little bit last year. So the Cowboys, they might be running into a trap with the Giants' new and improved run defense right here. And honestly, I just don't think it's going to be as high scoring as people say. If the Cowboys can win it under Dak, all the power in the world to him. But I just don't think having to rely fully on Dak Prescott 17 games a season, 18 weeks a year, is going to benefit them all that much. You know, not that I think, but also, I just don't think the Giants can say the same about Daniel Jones. I mean, sure, he had the best season of his career, and I do think Daniel Jones has made a lot of significant progress, but I mean, come on. this is a guy, but I mean, come on. Is it really warranted to call him, a top 10 quarterback in the league? He might be a top quarterback in the NFC, but I just think people are jumping the gun a little too much about Daniel Jones. I think the lowest that I would put Daniel Jones right now is probably 12 or 13 as far as overall quarterbacks go. The lowest I'd put him is like 12 or 13. But I think people are kind of overhyping him a little bit. I want to see him succeed, and I think that he has all the tools to succeed. But, come on, lay off the top 10 quarterback talks with him. That's just my take on Daniel Jones. So, this one was tricky for me to pick as well. But then I remembered something. The Cowboys, they've been beating up on the Giants for years now. The Giants typically start the season off 0-1, except for last year when they played the Titans, when Tennessee had that blown lead against them. But if Dallas builds up a lead against them, I don't see the Cowboys forfeiting it. I'm going to go with the Cowboys in this one, but I do have the Giants making it a good game. Give me the Cowboys to win this one in a very tight one. Wrapping up week 1, we got Monday Night Football. Again, another tough one. The Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets. So back-to-back games at MetLife to kick off the season in primetime. The Bills, we all know the team they are. They're a Super Bowl contender on paper, but like I said, I'm not a fan of what the Bills did in the offseason. I really don't think they improved, but I don't think they got worse. I just think that they kind of remained the same. The one thing I have to say about Buffalo's defense is that it's getting older, and I just think they need more youth on the defense. Josh Allen, one of the top quarterbacks in the league, and he has a ton of firepower to work with. So honestly, the Bills, there's just no excuse for them to be bad. I think that this is head and shoulders a playoff team. They should win the AFC East once again. But like I said, I just think that they have their hands full now with Miami and the Jets snipping at their ankles, who both beat them last year. The Jets, they've been the offseason darlings all offseason, with Aaron Rodgers landing now in New York. And everyone always says the Jets are just a quarterback away from being a Super Bowl contender. Well, yeah, I do think the Jets are a quarterback away, but are they a Super Bowl contender? I don't think so. I think that this is a playoff team, and here's the thing. How can you call anyone with Aaron Rodgers on their team a Super Bowl contender when all Aaron Rodgers does is just come up short in the playoffs? It doesn't make sense. I'd say, yeah, they're a playoff contender now, but I'm not saying they're a Super Bowl contender because the Jets still have that good run game and they still have that great defense they have over there. I think Robert Saleh's done a good job with the Jets as well. And honestly, that might be cause for concern for the Bills right there. Again, with that aging defense going up against that youth the Jets have, and knowing that the Jets beat the Bills last year, this might be a tricky one right here for the Bills. And I think that this is going to go either way as well. As much as I want to pick the Bills in this one, I am honestly going to go with the Jets. So yeah, I think the Jets get off on the right foot. Aaron Rodgers is very well known for playing at his home venue. And the Jets are, fully healthy. And I think that their run game is going to tire out that Bills aging defense right there. While I do think the Bills are going to give the Jets a great game as far as offense goes, I just think the Jets are in better position right here because of the defense and because of the weaponry and because of the youth of the weaponry that they have to tire out Buffalo. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Jets to get the job done over the Bills in week 1. Well, there you have it, 64 minutes in. Hope you enjoyed the whole video. If you did, all the power in the world. If not, I don't blame you. I always talk a lot in week 1 because you never know what can happen. But yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments below. And for those pool members, you are more than welcome to post your picks on this video, or DM me on Instagram. Whatever works for you. I don't care how you do it. As long as I get your picks, that's all I care about. But yeah, I'm going to check on out for the day. This is Mac checking on out. Football is back, baby, and I am gone.